Hey everyone, Wyduck here with Game 2 of a Best of 5 series from the WCS Season 2 America portion. And this is the quarterfinal stage, and this time on Neoplanet S, we've got spawning in the bottom left and the victor of Game 1. We've got Team Liquid's Taeja. And Taeja was using the range of those Vikings, superior engagements to really frustrate his Chinese opponent, who's spawning in the top right as the blue Protoss. We've got Invictus Gaming's Macsed. Macsed is a very capable player, but he's going to have to figure out how to engage this very crafty Terran Korean. As the last game on Aklon Waste did not go Macsed's way, he was building Phoenixes and was not able to harass very much. And even though the game seemed to stabilize, there's basically one huge encounter, and then Macsed was going to sleep very early in that game, and it was over. So Macsed's going to have to figure it out. Otherwise, he's going to have a very quick 2-0 deficit in this best of 5. He's going for the gateway first, and we'll have to see if Taeja is going to respond with 14cc on the low ground again. That's what he did last game, and it worked out perfectly. Macsed did not scout it out, so that is something to note. And Taeja is saving up a lot of resources, and he's got 14 SCVs, so it is going to be the 14cc. And again on the low ground, is it going to be a repeat of Game 1? We're going to have to figure out if Macsed is going to be able to spot this and see if he can do anything about it. Currently, he has no probes sent out to scout. Taeja doesn't either. And it is a little reminiscent of Bomber's play. Bomber is one of those players I really like to watch because he's so aggressive. He's not so much like Taeja in that way, but what I mean is Bomber likes to just not scout. He's just going to be doing what he's doing, and then he's just going to overwhelm you with his very aggressive, constant harassment and poking and attacking strategies. So Taeja is going to be scouting here. Spots that there is no Nexus. There we go. The Nexus does go up immediately once the SCV is there. It's almost as if the SCV put down the Nexus for Macsed himself. And the SCV is going to be going around the probe line, going to be stealing some resources here. There we go. You see, and I like this animation because you see the SCV is holding the blue mineral crystal with one hand. But the drone and the probe, they hold the mineral in the center of their body. And so I'm thinking, well, if they're holding it in the center of their body, how are they able to, like, attack? Like, what are they attacking out of? Like, what does a probe attack out of? They say it's a particle beam, right? What was their attack? Yeah, particle beam. But where does it come from? Because if they're holding the mineral in the middle of their body, how can they see? I mean, the drone is spitting, right? So you can say, well, he's holding the mineral below, and then he's going to spit over the mineral to attack the units. Anyways, I know I'm thinking way too much about this. A very, very minor thing. But I've always just been curious about that. But back to the game, Macsed has a very good positioning for the Stargate. He's putting it on the left side of his base. Even if a scan goes down, I would probably see the Stargate, but he's basically hitting it in one of the far corners of his base. Taeja is going to be moving out with 5 Marines. This is an interesting move by Taeja. Remember, these Marines do not have stim or combat shields. And I've seen Taeja do this before, and it has been successful in the past. Just trying to catch the opponent off guard, betting on the opponent doesn't have a lot of defenses, and he'd be right. There's only a Stalker and a Mothership Core. The probes are going to be pulled off the line. And going to directly engage here, but the Nexus cannon is going to go down. Those Marines are going to get finished off, and now with just 2 Marines left, Taeja is going to lose all these Marines for the low cost of basically nothing. So this is a big loss for Taeja. We'll have to see if Macsed is able to capitalize on these losses. And he does have the robotics facility up, just like the previous game. He has the Phoenixes warping in as well. So he wants to do something about these Harvester lines with Phoenixes, but this time, remember, Taeja the previous game, had many Marines at both bases, but because he lost those 5 initial Marines trying to do something at Macsed's natural, this may really be a good play by Macsed, as there's really no defenses protecting the main. There are still a whole bunch of Marines at the natural, but remember, if you can only protect one base, that's all the Phoenixes need. They don't need to harass both bases. So it looks like Taeja does want to put down a turret. And then I guess he canceled it. No, he's going to do it again. So he's going to be putting down a turret at his natural. The Phoenixes are going to be streaming in here very soon. We've only got 2, so the DPS will be minimal. But looks like this turret is going to finish just in time. The Phoenixes are backing off. But at the same time, the Phoenixes come to the main. We've got a whole bunch of Marines here, so the Phoenixes are not going to be able to do too much now. The robotics bay is almost warped in for Macsed as well, so that's going to expand his tech choices. I think he's going to be going for Colossi immediately. There we go. The first Colossi is warping in. And the Phoenixes are going to be streaming into the main, but we've got so many Marines. Macsed is really thinking about it really hard. He's going to find one stray Marine in the middle of the map. Unfortunately, he's going to be popped. Wow, that was a lot of blood from one Marine. That's a lot of blood. I don't think that's necessarily volume accurate, but that was a disgusting way to die. And we've got the 3rd command center coming up for Taeja behind his hallowed walls of defense. And the Phoenixes are going to come in here again, get a scout, but they're not going to be able to do much else other than that. Macsed is building 2 more gateways. Thermal Lance has been started as well, and he's just going to be stabilizing on 2 bases. I find it interesting that Taeja went for the 14 CC on the low ground, but he only has 1 engineering bay. Generally, I thought Taeja likes to go for double engineering bay. He likes to be really greedy, but this time he's gone for 1 engineering bay. He's getting a starport up as well behind the initial one, but it looks like Taeja wants to make something happen here. He's across the map, and he's on Macsed's side of the base. Unbeknownst to him, there is a Colossi here, and Thermal Lance is halfway complete. The scan does go down, able to see the Stargate, but doesn't see the robotics bay nor the forge. And Taeja's just looking for stray pylons or maybe a 3rd base here, but generally as a player you want to take your 3rd base here. It's much easier to defend. You have rocks on this side. You can block off this area with a few buildings. This area is much harder to defend. You have a much larger area and it's easy to get flanked in a lot of situations. So Phoenixes are going to stream into the natural area of Taeja. But once again, those Phoenixes are scared away. There are 5 in total now. In fact, there's a great flank, but not able to kill any of the Phoenixes. In fact, some of the medevacs do take some damage, but neither player getting any real losses. This one lonely Stim Marine was able to pick off a probe, so he's going to trade 50 minerals for 50. So not a bad trade for Taeja. Also able to scout that Nexus, but Macsed is actually going to cancel it. So Taeja's thinking there's a 3rd here, but instead he cancels it. Is this the time Macsed's going to push out? He's getting +1 armor. I don't see any more units being trained. Generally, when you cancel your expansion, you want to use that as a surprise attempt to lull your opponent into a false sense of security. And Macsed is going to be moving out here. So interesting, he's going to be doing that. Taeja at the same time is moving out as well. So are we going to be entering a base trade sort of situation? The Phoenixes are able to take off a few Marines, and Macsed is moving in here. The Vikings are all targeted down by the Phoenixes. So it looks like this is going to have to be a base trade situation, and I have to favor Macsed because he's got better range and mobility. He's got Colossi and he's got Phoenixes, but he's not going to have the Phoenixes for much longer. The Vikings are able to take down all the Phoenixes. At the same time, Macsed is just going to walk up the ramp with the Colossi, doing some damage. At the same time, all the probes are running away from the 2nd as the Nexus was destroyed at the natural. The Nexus cannon is doing some damage here, and it's going to be up to Taeja on whether or not he wants to confront this directly. Currently, he hasn't really committed. He's still on the edge and still taking damage from that Nexus cannon, but his main base is under extreme firepower. A lot of the barracks are being destroyed. The Vikings are trying to be rushed out here, but look at the supply difference. Macsed is really far ahead, and Taeja is focusing down on that Nexus now, but he's behind by over 50 supply. It's going to be difficult for Taeja to get back in this game, as there's just so many more Protoss units. And now, in fact, not even focusing down on that Nexus after that Nexus cannon run out. Instead, focusing down on all the probes. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, as you don't want your opponent getting minerals. And now that Nexus is finally going to fall. But the main base for both players is under extreme stress. And Taeja is now trying to clean up the stray buildings in the natural and in the main. But he doesn't really have an escape plan. The supplies have evened out quite a bit. And in fact, Macsed doesn't have a Nexus. But Macsed is still ahead by 20 supply. And so on a head-on-head collision, I don't think Taeja would come out ahead in this one. So he's going to have to boost away and play really crafty with these medevacs. And he's trying to do that right now. But I think Taeja might have made a mistake here. His Marines are very slow. Half his units are to the north, half his units to the south. And so if Macsed's able to get one confrontation with half the army, he'll be very happy. And that is what it's going to be, it looks like. Another boost by the medevacs to try and get away. Actually double backing, and now is going to fake out Macsed. And Taeja's doing a great job, even though he's doing the really risky thing by keeping his army separated. He's able to keep one group for defense and one group to attack. And so that's very interesting. Taeja is trying to clean up all these stray buildings in the main. Taeja does have a lot more barracks left than his opponent, and he's actually still got an orbital command. And so that doesn't reveal where all the buildings are left, so you can't underestimate that. So Taeja might be able to pull this one out. He's still down by 18 supply, 20 now. But this large force of Stalkers is walking in here, and it looks like Taeja is going to have to boost out of here. Has to control this very carefully, and is going to be able to keep away at least for another day. But at the same time, there are two Zealots still whacking away at some structures in the main base of Taeja. Now, Taeja does have SCVs and actually putting down a whole bunch of supply depots and is beginning to mine as well with mules. So this looks like it might be a confrontation here, and I don't think Taeja's going to be able to do very well here. He's trying to rebuild his army, but with so many Stalkers in the middle of all of this, supply depots are not going to finish. And like I said before, half that army is to the north, which means that he needs to recollect his army before he's able to confront this. And I'm a little bit curious here, because remember, your job is to finish off all the buildings. So if Taeja is able to destroy all the buildings of Macsed, then he will win. But unfortunately, the last pylon and the last structure is actually right by this huge force. And Taeja's going to lose a Viking there for nothing. And so it looks like Macsed is really in a good position here. He has a 30 supply advantage. And it's up to Taeja to make something happen here, it looks like. Mind you, he does have mining going on, but he still doesn't have depots. So you have to remember, he only has one SCV. It would take a long time to build a lot of depots. He's going to try and focus on that pylon. It does go down, but that's not the last building. Another pylon is being built by this lone probe. And I think Macsed has won it. He's actually got no supply. He's really, really super supply blocked, but he's up by 50 supply. And these SCVs have put 5 ninja supply depots up, but when you're behind 50 supply, it's going to be very difficult to try and construct units, especially when you don't have any barracks yourself. 2 barracks are coming up right now, but it's going to take another minute or so before they're finished. Now, Macsed is the one that needs to push this. He needs to push the envelope, put pressure on Taeja. Taeja, the longer the game goes, it'll be greatly in his favor, but if you just notice, there's only 3 Marines and a Marauder here, and I don't think this orbital command is going to do very well. It's going to be focused down. It's going to go down immediately, and these 2 orbital commands are going to be jetting away as well. And remember, they're just so slow. Now, another interesting thing here is Macsed has saved 1 Phoenix. So if Taeja is able to float the orbital commands to a position where no ground units can get to them, and Taeja was somehow able to pick off that Phoenix, the game could end in a draw. And I haven't seen a game end in a draw in quite a while. But Macsed very intelligently has hidden that Phoenix over there. And it looks like Taeja only has these 4 bio units. And now it looks like a huge engagement is going to occur. All the medevacs are going to go down as well. This last Marine is stimming away. He's still got 7 life. Hero Marine with 3 kills. Unfortunately, he's the last of his kind. Actually, there's 2 more on the high ground here, but they're going to get picked off immediately by the Stalkers. In fact, he's just going to melt away. What a gruesome way to die. And we've got more and more Marines coming out, actually, from the top right. But unfortunately, that's it. There's a supply block again. And this medevac is going to boost away. But the barracks are going to have to retreat once again. Remember, there is this lone Phoenix. If it wasn't there, I think this game would really end in a draw. And now it's just going to be cleaning up time. So this game might go on for quite a bit longer. Neither player really knows what the other player has. And the barracks are going to be hiding over here. The Phoenix is still very inactive. Same time, we've got 4 Vikings. So if Taeja was able to find that last Phoenix and focus it down with the Vikings, he could actually force a draw, because I don't think at this point he can win. There's just too much superior firepower from Macsed. So now Taeja is just playing the game of keep away. He knows he can't actually beat Macsed in a straight-on confrontation, but he's going to lose the medevac here, and now these 6 Marines are stranded. They're going to be totally destroyed. And remember, this is a very bad deal for these Vikings. They do not regenerate anything. They also can't fight the Stalkers unless they land. And one of the barracks does finally blow up in the sky. The Vikings are in a horrible position, and now one of the Vikings is going to go down. There we go. 2 of them do go down. One of them does survive with 5 life and is going to hide around these barracks. But remember, we got this Phoenix, and it looks like Mr. Macsed has it highlighted as well. Taeja is just roaming around the map with his SCVs. He's got all these buildings as well. And even though these games are sort of interesting when they are ending like this, where both players don't have a lot and they're just trying to hide and trying to use their last units, like really the last units in the game, to try and win the game, it does get kind of annoying because it can drag on for a long time. So we've been in this portion of the game for the last 5 to 10 minutes or so, and not that much has happened since. So as a viewer, I guess that's the one downside. But remember, as a gamer, you want to win. You want to get that prize money. You want to go to the next round. And finally, Macsed is going to move the Phoenix in here and focus down on that Viking, excuse me. And those barracks are taking damage, and so that is going to be GG from Taeja. Even though it might take another 20 minutes or so, I don't think there's that much more reason to be waiting around. And he is going to tap out. So Macsed, with brilliant play and with a very strange base trade, he's going to take it to Game 3 with a 1-1 series tie. And we'll have to see who in Game 3 can get the upper hand.